Alright, Cameron, I've dragged you here today to show you the greatest video I have found so far. I don't know how well this recording is going to go. I'm sure my laptop can handle it. It's fine. Alright. We have this video I found from the 3rd, yesterday. I've only seen about 3 people I watch talk about it now. Only one did it first. Don't worry about that video. Go away. Nobody knows about that. I didn't watch that, I swear. We're going to watch this. I made sure not to watch any of this. So we'd have the freshest take.
Okay.
Right, so we're just going to get into it.
Playing the PvP in your World War II shooter, and all of a sudden, you're a Nazi. You didn't ask for this.
I don't have audio.
I have sound set on. Why didn't you
4 frames.
Remember, you have to set it right.
I have it
Remember?
set.
That was a beautiful burp. Thank you.
Shut up, Cameron. Okay, we're back. Technical difficulties. Whatever. Fuck it. We're here now.
Playing the PvP in your World War II shooter, and all of a sudden, you're a Nazi. You didn't ask for this. You didn't choose this. Yet there it is. And it's treated no differently than playing a British soldier.
You're playing a World War II shooter.
This is bad on so many levels. No one should ever have a random chance of fighting for the Nazis. And we should never express that there's no meaningful difference between Nazis and Allied soldiers, or that they're functionally interchangeable. And before anyone equivocates and says not all German soldiers in World War II were Nazis, if they were wearing the swastika and are functioning as an arm of the Nazi government, then unless the game goes out of its way to tell you specifically that your particular character is not a Nazi, then they're a Nazi. In that multiplayer shooter, when it switched you to the German side, did it go out of its way to tell you that the person you're playing was pressed into service under threat of their life? Yeah, that's a big old nope. Oh, and on a similar note, let's please stop forcing people to play as terrorists as well.
Cameron, you can't play as a Nazi. Stop playing Battlefield 5. Stop it.
No joke. Near the end of the war, in end of 1944 into 1945, around the time of the Bulge.
Pretty sure by the time the Allies showed up, it was literally just most of the Wehrmacht were literally just kids and stuff. They had run out of soldiers.
Kids and old men. Kids who did not really want to fight, but were basically told, you're going to go fight.
The Allies are coming, you go to the beach.
The only reason that
and also, it was basically only the high command that committed the actual atrocities, that and I guess the guards. But they were also under orders to do
Wehrmacht, the general Wehrmacht soldiers were just exactly that. They were soldiers. Most of these were guys who had fought during World War I, or guys who had just said, hey, I'm already in the army. Okay, whatever. These are my orders. I'm a soldier.
And plus, basically, all they really knew was we're fighting other countries.
Right.
They weren't like, we're fighting to murder the Jews in the other countries.
Right. Obviously, yes, there were members of the Wehrmacht. I'm sure that there were plenty of troops within the Wehrmacht who were and did agree with the Nazi ideology. Obviously. But that doesn't... It also
doesn't mean that you are. It's a game.
Yes.
You're fighting to win. You don't care which side you're on.
He literally just proved himself wrong by saying, I'm playing an online World War II shooter. It's
in your online World War II shooter, there is no evil side. It's just
the other problem with this argument, though.
This is okay. Hang on.
No, I gotta say, it's also the company's fault because they're pushing the same agenda that people like this want. Where you're not the Nazis anymore. You're Nazi adjacent guys or whatever. You don't have the swastika or whatever. You have the Iron Cross and whatever. And you're not Nazis. You're not the Nazis. We can't say that word. Not allowed.
Then his argument just fell flat because he just said, "Oh, they didn't tell you that you weren't the Nazis." Apparently, according to you, they did. You are.
That's what the whole thing Battlefield 5 was. They're like, no, they're not Nazis. That's what all games do now. They're not the Nazis anymore or whatever. They're like,
yeah, because they don't feel like changing it for Germany.
Yeah, the only game where there is Nazis is Wolfenstein, and in that game, you're just killing them. But Wolfenstein is a bit of an exception because it's not a multiplayer game. This is like saying we should only play as the rebels in any Star Wars multiplayer game. We can never play as the Empire because, the Empire's terrible people.
The Empire blew up an entire planet.
Multiple planets.
They're mean. How dare they? The bad...
Yeah. They're horrible people.
I want to see the future that these guys want, where every time I play the bad guys in a game, it has to pop up a paragraph or two of text or the whole wiki article about the Nazis to tell me that I'm the bad guy and that I should feel bad on my side that I'm playing on.
If that doesn't pop up, you just break down and cry and commit suicide because you're now a Nazi.
Exactly. I am now the Nazi that I feared I would become.
All right, let's let the video continue.
Here you are playing your modern shooter, and all of a sudden you're a terrorist. You didn't ask for this, you didn't choose this, and yet second verse, same as the first. There it is. I mean, that's literally the name of your side in the game. We can do better than this. Even if you put aside all of the people who have had traumatic experiences with these groups, who have lost loved ones to terrorists, or who have had generations
there are
of
people
their
that literally play
families
these games that have experienced
no one should have
this.
to put on the costume of an ideology they find abhorrent without actually opting into it in your game.
Also, that
any video game, especially in multiplayer, there's going to be a good guy team and a bad guy team.
No, only good guys and good guys fight. Never.
Right.
They should always be AIs or whatever. The computer's the bad guy.
The future of games that this guy wants is going to be America versus Britain exclusively. Until America or Britain does something wrong, then it's going to be.
But America's bad, Hunter. You should never have to play as the American soldier.
We can't. I guess we can't play Civil War games. Because we should only be able to play as the Union and never the Confederates.
But what about when the Unions burned down all of Georgia? Wouldn't that make them bad too? Oh, hold on.
Shh.
This guy's future is so fucking shitty. There are no bad guys anymore. Everything is good. But then you can't play the game because then it would only be good guys killing good guys, and then that would be bad. So, you can't play
that would be atrocities. That would be war crimes. You're fighting your own
It only
side.
can be AI or whatever. And the game is not...
All he wants
you can't
is
even
co-op
shoot them.
games. Doesn't want multiplayer PvP.
No, but the next step is he's going to say shooting's bad, so we can't have shooting. So it's just going to be Peace Simulator or whatever. So all of the games will be. They're all bad.
All right, let's go ahead and listen to the rest of this.
Them to stop thinking about it. To stop thinking of the meaning behind these things. We normalize them. We make them just window dressing for entertainment. Those uniforms, those symbols, become things that no longer inherently revolt us. They reduce our visceral reaction to seeing the embodiment of these ideologies. Now, does this make us totally ignore the history that comes with them? No. But for some people, it moves them from the territory of revolting to just edgy. It makes scrawling a swastika on something change from unthinkable to just dangerous. It means you might not take iron crosses all over a website as a warning sign that you should immediately leave. And if you don't leave, you might start reading and buying into hateful ideas there. It seems like such a small...
Guys, I don't know how many Nazi websites you've been, but I...
Okay, this is the worst slippery slope I have ever seen in my life. This is equivalent... Again, I keep using the word equivalent, but that's all I can think of. You are basically... What you were saying is you are making a video game version of the video games create violence.
Video games create Nazis.
Right. Now you're saying this.
I love that it's we shouldn't forget the history of it. But, and you always know that argument's horrible when somebody goes, we shouldn't do this thing we shouldn't, this argument you might have is good, but, and it's like, we can't have Nazis in our games or play anything history in our games. So we're going to forget. But no, we won't, because this guy said we won't. But how are we going to remember? Because the couple years of school you take, and I've literally forgotten everything about history class, besides the things I wanted to care about. And so video games pretty much are the only thing that teach me new things.
And not to mention...
Yeah, how many people know about... How many people know about, freaking... I don't know, I think medieval is wrong, but whatever, feudal China or whatever, other than freaking, what are they called? The...
Total War?
Total War games.
Yeah, I know fucking nothing about that. So when I saw, stuff about it, I was like, oh, there's actually, some stuff here. And because that game came out, I actually saw some YouTubers get sponsored and make a video about that history, and I watched it, so now I actually know more
But
About the
you're
thing.
still playing as the bad guys.
But then
there
there's
as
the
well.
bad guy in the game who killed a bunch of people, and he was a bad man, so I can't play the game no more. Bad man.
And you choose to play him, you horrible human being.
Oh, fuck.
Right. This... What?
You are just thrown into it. This time you're choosing it. You're even worse.
I can't wait to see what this man has to say about Battlefield 1. Let's let him go.
But it's things like this
Oh, he's not
that
gonna
erode
talk
our
about that.
safeguards
Isn't
against
here. No,
dangers we sacrifice so
That's
much
not
to fight. By the time you've
popular.
played 100 hours of being a Nazi, their voice stabs become memes and in-jokes with your friends. By the 1,000th time you've respawned as a terrorist, you're either celebrating them or making fun of them. Neither of which helps the global crisis we have that takes thousands of lives every year. So what do? That's easy.
Lives every day?
Don't make them morally equivalent.
Every year.
Don't make there be no in-game moral difference between your Nazis and your allies, between your terrorists and your counter-terrorist squads. Frame PvP as a training exercise, or simply take one of your non-odious sides and recolor them so that it's red versus blue, rather than Axis versus allies. A good example...
This is so much shit, man.
That's literally what Counter-Strike does. The only difference between you oh my god. Counter-terrorist is the defender team. Terrorist is the attacker team.
No, but they have the word terrorist in it, so it's bad. How dare you? If they get rid of the terrorists, are we going to get mad at the counter-terrorists because they have the word terrorist in their name still too? Also, I don't want red versus blue. I like my games to actually tell me things. I don't want to be like, hey guys.
Yeah, it's really cool having actually realistic stuff. Like in Rainbow Six Siege, where you've got, technically they're all good guys and they're fighting each other
That
for whatever
is the training exercise,
But-
and that's probably his example. Is he's like,
Yeah.
"What's Siege dude?"
Yeah, but like still, it's cool to have their actual guns in the game.
Oh wait,
now if
no,
there
wait.
was
he would
actually
hate.
bad
Hold on, he
people
would
there-
hate Siege because there are the terrorists, which are the AIs.
Yeah.
But he would be 33% like okay with it. He would like it mostly, but then he'd be like, "We got to get rid of the terrorist mode though with the AI." Probably they're terrorists. We can't have them.
So it's like, okay, so I guess we can't portray real life in any
But
video.
no, it's fine as long as someone isn't playing it, because he's fine
Right.
as long as no one's playing it.
Right.
But
Okay,
then what's
you're
the
right.
next
You're
step
the good
after that?
guy.
He'll be like, but his argument at the beginning was, we can't have these things basically because people who have lost people to this will hate it or whatever.
Okay.
So we can't have the terrorists in Rainbow Six Siege if they're played by AI, by his standard earlier, because that would still make the people playing the game that lost loved ones sad to that. So basically his argument early on was we can't mimic any kind of history where even a single person has died because somebody might be sad.
All right, let's continue.
Example of a game that does this is Rainbow Six Siege.
Fuck!
All of your bomb diffusion and hostage rescue multiplayer with no normalizing terrorists. In fact, by having all of the characters as counter-terrorists training for a possible threat, it highlights how real and
Called it,
present of
Hunter.
a threat that is.
God
And
damn.
if you decide that you need to have both sides be playable, don't make them interchangeable. Don't have players randomly spawn in as one or the other. Allow players to choose which side they're on.
You do.
Now, of course, this has all sorts of in-game problems.
You
such as
do in
creating
frickin'
shorter wait times for
Counter-Strike.
fascists. But you know what? Those wait times
Yeah.
could be artificially extended.
Not
If it
competitive,
meant
but
players had an
normal
active
Counter-Strike.
choice in what teams they would represent if you're saying we need people playing Nazis in our games. And if you're going to say, but we need it for historical reasons, then your game better actually be historical. You can't really just hide behind the fact you called your desert map El Alamein and say, but it's historical. If that were the case, you need your PvP to at least represent real historical events and be a realistic take on those battles.
You can't have any variation. No variation in that attack. If you
Okay,
play on the
then you're
Axis
using-
side,
Okay, hold on. One moment. Please, sir.
Please.
Okay. You are saying that Battlefield 5 needs to be realistic. What level of realism are you expecting? This
Are
is
you
the problem when you hear people say, I love history. I've read a lot of stuff on World War II. I've read a good amount on World War I and other times previous to that. No game ever. There's very, 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 very few games that will ever achieve realism according to anyone. Because realism, a lot of times, can be subjective. You can get very close to it in a game, but
like-
you're never going to get
Yeah, you could
actually
never get to
100%
it in a game.
accurate.
the only way you can do it is really a movie in video game
Right.
form where you're literally stuck on rails watching your character walk around and do the things that they did in World War II. That is the
Right.
closest you can get, and that's not entertainment. Well,
Right.
it is entertainment, but it's not games.
Yes, it's not interactive entertainment.
Yeah.
Right. Call of Duty, like the first couple ones and World at War, did a decent job of showing historical events in the campaigns. But it probably wasn't 100% accurate. They probably took some liberties with things.
Well, technically it's not accurate if you're literally just counting you exist as somebody that wasn't there, and you literally do anything that's not exactly how it happened. From what I've seen is how, from technical, when you talk about historically accurate, apparently the definition of that is literally everything happens the exact same way. There is no difference. And so,
which goes back to my on rails, just watching your guy do its thing. Sit in a trench
so technically
for 4 hours.
the thing that we're talking about is historical adjacent, I think, or something, or whatever it is.
Right. Or close to being accurate.
Basically, yeah. It's
like
as
a
close
game
to it.
can be.
Right. Games
Like
can
you have
definitely
the
be
same
that.
guns, you have the same tanks, you're on the same place,
Uh-huh.
you're doing basically the same thing, but that's all you
How
can
you
do.
achieve that objective
Right.
is subjective.
And okay, there are realistic shooters out there. It's called Postscriptum. It's called Hell Let Loose. But even those
Verdun.
are not Verdun, yes. But even those have to take some liberties.
Yeah, because it wasn't 60 people respawning running at each other.
Right, exactly. You have
There
to look
wasn't
at it
only
in the
60 people manning the freaking trenches.
The whole Ardennes or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, they're saying that it's not see, they're trying to get around this argument, I think, because they're trying to say it's not the gamer's fault. It's the game's fault that you're playing the Nazis or whatever. Even though there are enough people that don't give a shit and will play both sides, and they're like, no, but if we fixed it, people would just take the extra wait time to play the Allies or whatever. And I'm like, you've never played a game. I want to just play the fucking game. I don't give a shit about your political fucking
if you're talking
ideology.
about wait times for things that people don't want to play, you can look at League of Legends. Recently, they've had to freaking add an autofill thing because no one wants to play support. It was getting up to like 20-minute wait times just because they needed a support player for your game.
Jesus.
Well, that was a while. That was like 2 years ago. But
Yeah.
And they fixed it by adding an autofill thing that everyone hates. But I mean, it lowered the times from 20 minutes to 5.
All right, let's see what else this guy has to say.
Once you make both sides balanced, it's also no longer historical. And you can't really say that you need Nazis anymore for historical accuracy. Oh, and once you let players get cool weapons that weren't actually at that particular battleground, it's also no longer historically accurate. And you can't declare that your game will suffer if you don't put players in the jackboots of the Third Reich. And once your map is something carefully designed to have good gameplay by a team in a room in San Francisco or LA, and it's not a faithful reconstruction of the actual places the historical events occurred in, you can no longer say we need to have players take up arms in service of terror or hate. And look, we're not saying we can't have games about world...
I feel like that picture a second ago perfectly illustrated his argument. He just wants to shut everyone up and duct tape their mouths.
Okay.
If you saw that or whatever.
You're playing a World War II shooter, right? It's a game that's set in the time period
of the entirety of World War II.
Right.
Like, I don't remember.
So hold on. His argument a second ago, he hates Wolfenstein 2 because you get cool guns. So it's no longer historically accurate.
No.
Garbage.
If it's a World War II multiplayer shooter and the battles that you're in aren't specifically locked to certain weapons that were used during that battle...
Yeah, if you don't have only MP5s and freaking Sten guns, I don't know.
Well, MP40s and Stens.
They have tanks and they didn't have tanks in that battle. Nazi.
If all you have is the Panzer tank versus, I don't know, the Tiger tank
Sherman.
versus the Sherman.
So I like how their argument is it can't be balanced because that's not historically accurate. So they want, if you have to be historically accurate, then they want the game to not be fun. So that at the beginning of the war, if somebody was doing this and it was Poland versus Germany, Poland should get fucking stepped on.
You can only have Nazis or terrorists.
Only
if
cavalry.
The game is not fun.
For the Polish.
The if you play that map, only the Polish can have cavalry, and you get to step on them and drive them over
have
tanks.
freaking Mosins. That's it.
And then Germany gets planes, tanks, bombers, everything. And the match is over in 6 seconds, and the Germans, none of the Polish people ever want to play the game again. But they don't care about that. They don't care about actual business and making, things last. They just want to yell about something.
Developers for video games generally make a video game for a very specific reason. That specific reason is called fun.
Money.
Yeah, and the only way that you can have...
wants to have fun playing a game. They want to be able to relax. They want to be able to have a game where it's relatively balanced.
They also usually don't like politics in their games.
Yeah, the only way you can ever have, objectively unbalanced guns in a game is if it's you're going to lose that gun when you die.
Yeah, so pick up.
That's the only way you can do that. With the Escape from Tarkov, where it's oh yeah, this gun is objectively better than the rest, but it's rare, and you aren't going to have it for the entire game.
Yeah. All right, let's let this man finish. He's got a minute left.
Or about terrorism. We're not even saying we shouldn't make games where you play as a Nazi or a terrorist. But what we are saying is that the fact that you're playing as a Nazi or a terrorist in a game has to mean something. And it can't just be a skin. It can't be something that a game randomly drops you into. And really, if we are saying anything in this episode, it's this. Games can do better. And in this particular case, it's not even that hard to do better. And it's no more costly to do better. All it requires is that we in the game industry
it's a lot less costly to do better.
Around.
And the game will just immediately fail. No big deal.
It's almost like, hold on.
Yeah,
I like this argument.
It would cost more because you'd have to hire historians or hire people who understand history and be like, "Yep, no, this didn't happen here. You have to
How
do
many
this.
of which
This
guns
didn't
were
happen
in
here."
this battle on each side? Okay,
Right.
That's how many guns they have, and however many whatever they have.
Right.
So it's
what was the
literally
unit
just
numbers?
one gun versus one gun.
Man, I guess the battles where I guess if we want to be historically accurate, then I guess we should be able to play as the Soviet Union versus Nazi Germany. And, the Soviet Union is trying to retake Stalingrad and shells this shit out of their own city, killing thousands of civilians. But they're not Nazis, so hey, whatever.
They're fine.
It's historically accurate. That's the thing about history. Any side of any war, any conflict does horrible things. Even Americans. We
all know Americans do horrible things because they'll tell us that 1,000 times a day.
Well, what I mean is no side was spotless and clean.
It's almost like humans aren't perfect and we can't accept this.
Right.
It's almost as if military guarantees of you're going to kill somebody attracts some psychopaths that just want to kill somebody.
Right.
And if they don't find the person they want to kill, there's going to be random civilians and a whole bunch of gunfire going on. No one's going to know what happened.
Yeah.
Also, just the fact is that when you're shooting things to kill people and they're hiding near civilians, it's a little hard to guarantee that you're not going to kill civilians because it's a little hard
you can see that with
to gather
police.
intel.
Yeah, you can see that with police. There's civilians nearby, it's going to happen. They have specific bullets to not do that, but it still happens.
Yeah. All right, he's got 30 seconds left.
Around us. And what these symbols we're drawing on mean. That we think as we're building, not just about the game we're working on, but about the world as a whole. If we can do that, we can take a big step forward for the industry. We can stop helping to normalize Nazis.
Although normalizing Nazis is a pretty good idea because looking at them as just horrible, disgusting people, we don't even want to look at them. You're not going to learn from the issues that they were actually normal human beings that either got tricked or manipulated into believing that.
Yeah. The thing is you look at society. Nazi Germany is actually a perfect example of normal history. They really are. Now, yes, there was the genocides, obviously, but lots of countries have had genocides. We're not going to talk about that. The point that I'm saying is that from a historical perspective, the rise of the Nazis taking over Germany is just another part of history, and it's part of the cycle of history. History is just an endless cycle. That cycle is... It's an example of finding a scapegoat. Every culture has one. We had plenty of scapegoats throughout the centuries.
It's still...
We still have scapegoats.
In its entirety.
Right. You know, I remember in the early 2000s, it was Islam and the Mexicans. Or I'm sorry. You know, because that's how people would call it. They'd be like, these damn Mexicans, if they weren't coming in here causing all the problems. And it's like, well, why don't we look at ourselves and maybe say, hey, maybe we should work on some shit. But no, that's too easy. You know,
it's called human psychology or whatever. Us versus them.
It's easier to blame someone else than it is to admit your own mistakes. And that's a perfect example of what happened with Germany. The end of the Weimar Republic into the Nazi Party, and why they gained so much popularity is because somebody popped up and said, hey, guys, it's not our fault.
Everyone's blaming us for shit, and we're not that bad.
Right. It's not our fault that our economy fell to pieces along with everybody else's. It's actually the Jews.
The Jews and everyone else. And everyone else was actually true. I forgot what treaty it was.
Yes.
The treaty ruined everything.
Treaty of Versailles.
The Treaty of Versailles is what created World War II. But the main point that I'm trying to say is that you look at history in any culture and country.
They needed someone that they could mess with.
Ethnic group that they will blame for all their problems, or religious group that they will blame for all their problems, without realizing that there's a lot more nuances to realizing what causes a country's downfall. So he talks about normalizing Nazis. Or stop normalizing them. And it's like, okay, everyone knows what a Nazi is. Everyone knows what the Nazis did. You're almost acting like we should only view them as abhorrent, horrible creatures that should still be almost feared in this modern age, where I'd rather have it as the view that it's like we look at Nazis and we fucking mock them because, holy shit, you guys are fucking stupid. Like, that's my view of it. I'd rather make fun of Nazis than fear Nazis.
Yeah. Wolfenstein. All right. So.
Yeah, it's great to make fun of Nazis because the ones that still exist today are just idiots that either want to be edgy or are just assholes, and they want a way or a group to be with, to be assholes with.
Yep. My favorite
Guys,
thing is like...
there's more things!
Okay. All right, I'm sorry.
Fuck. All right. Obviously, the community definitely enjoyed this video.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, we go to Twitter now. But this was the response we got after people started getting angry at them. If Cameron, if you want to read it for me.
I don't think enough people seem to understand that, one, we fully expected this to happen every time we've uploaded a Games Are Political video, and that, two, we love losing all the bigoted subscribers. Are you kidding me? Less bigotry is great. Dislikes are still engagement.
Shrug emoji.
Okay.
Like that.
See, this is like.
By the way, I have to mention they,
like,
them.
Okay.
Just real quick.
Well, that's what we've been referring to them as.
No, that's their pronouns. They don't have he or she or whatever.
Yeah, but we've been referring to them as they. So whatever.
I know.
I don't care. If you want to be called that, I'll call you that. Fine. I don't give a shit.
You're weird, but whatever, man.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be a dick about that.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You're making the grammar Nazis angry. Oh, no, wait, that's normalizing Nazis. Oh, no.
Fuck!
All right.
So
Yeah,
I feel like the one we could talk about most was two. Easier than one. You gotta love, man. So many bigots in this world. Whenever somebody says something that people disagree with, it's immediately the bigots or whatever, or the bad people, the Nazis, showing up.
Bigots or incels. They need to figure out a name for the people that are going against them, so
it's
they don't
almost
have
like
to
what we
actually
just
engage
talked
with
about
them.
with World War
almost,
II, but they're using
like
another
using
an ethnic thing to get rid of, to target.
right. You're using a group as another scapegoat.
It's almost like they're Nazis. We could equal the same. 2 + 2 = 4. I found it out.
If you give the group a random name that is bad, you don't have to engage with them because they are that random group that is bad.
Hey, didn't a certain political candidate try this in the 2016 elections and
Yeah, but these
fail
people got 2 million
horribly?
subscribers, man. They're more popular.
I'm pretty sure they don't got to.
Oh no, God, plays the allies. It's too late. It's too late.
It's too late.
F in the chat for fallen brethren.
He's doing the.
Oh, Chris
the,
Reagan's
oh boy.
here!
Oh boy, people aren't bigoted just because they think you've misread a subject. Believe it or not, other perspectives aren't inherently evil. World War II games do not teach players that Nazis are good. I struggle to think of a single example of such a thing happening. You put out a bad video.
Yay! That's actually really good,
Oh,
and he
fuck.
didn't get at all angry.
I was signed into Twitter for this on the other browser.
You could switch to the other browser if you didn't close it.
I don't have it anymore. I closed it.
Yeah,
It
whatever.
didn't work.
I'm just shooting it on extra credits. Finally, the crossover we all deserve.
We knew this was going to happen.
No, you're hypocritical. You said years ago gamers are mature and intelligent enough for games to be that too. Then you now say gamers are too stupid to understand things. Now you're taking a look that's just passive. Bad engaging is still engaging. You even praise playing as terrorists in video games was a great enlightened experience to see the perspective of Muslims and said shooting them was bad. Taliban and Al-Qaeda tossed gays off the roofs and tortured civilians. Then in another video, you flip-flop on condemning McCarthy-era fear, but now you're actively using those same tactics he used in
Really
your
nice.
videos to witch hunt for Nazis. Quit it. We know your game.
If only we researched enough as this guy, although I assume he watches this guy
I was
actually.
going to say, this was like
I
probably
don't think I've ever
years.
watched extra credits, but
I've never heard of them before this.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, if we had researched this, that would have been great to know.
Well, we
But
had
now
that
that we
guy.
have
He
that
just
guy,
told us.
yeah, now we have that guy. We can live off of him. Go to say hi to Ash or whoever.
If we had researched it, it would have took us like 30 minutes to get through that part of it, too. To be honest. All right, and then so obviously we have Social Blade as the last thing. Fuck off, Social Blade.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Guys, it's good. It's good. That was not
Good,
yesterday.
good.
It's
Green
good. It's good.
subscriber
Oh
number.
man!
Oh no.
Apparently they do pretty well normally, and it's so surprising. The biggest thing about this thing that's surprising to me is that they're so popular, and
Well,
yet
what it seems is like
they're fucking stupid.
It seems they do
I
okay
feel like
with some
I
of their
have
other
seen
videos.
extra
This
credits
one's just
before.
they did badly.
yeah.
They seem like they
Hang on.
put out controversial things often, because of like
Yeah.
this or whatever. I feel like they put out lightly controversial things every so often to try to get some views or whatever, probably.
Yeah.
And then now this was finally the time when they hit something so bad. They're like,
Uh-oh. We done messed up.
but then they're gonna back up on the it's bigots or whatever. And I love their argument that even though it's bad engagement, it's still engagement. Because that I've never seen proof of that work ever. I don't think
Technically, by algorithm and whatnot, YouTube, dislikes are the exact same as likes. If you hit any of those buttons down there, it is just engagement.
Okay.
But the
So-
thing is
so a
that
lot of
somebody I
these-
saw was talking about is that you'll see videos in trending for a lot of likes, but you'll never see a video in trending for dislikes, though.
Oh yeah, they won't put it in trending with this.
So they'll at least it might have the same engagement, but companies that look for the engagement aren't going to advertise to you.
So honestly,
Trending,
what this
you'll get
looks
notified
like,
to trending possibly, but the people that review it will go, no, this is bad, we're not putting it on trending. So it is engagement, but it's in all the wrong places and it doesn't count because there are people there to stop that from showing up. So it doesn't actually matter.
so what this looks like, because I'm going through their channel right now, looking through it all. What it looks like is that, for a channel with 2.1 million subscribers,
Oh yeah, their
the
engagement is
majority of
pretty
their
low,
videos
apparently.
from the past year, their top ones are like maybe 5 or 10 of them, and those are only peaking at about maybe 500,000 views. The average of them, especially if you look at their most recent ones before the Nazi one, you had one that was a history
They don't
one.
have that high of an engagement.
That was
to be honest.
267 views. A bunch of ones that were like maybe in the 100,000s. So it's
For their channel size, their engagement is pretty low.
yes.
For
That's what I'm viewing.
what they do, yeah.
Like average
the-
engagement is not high.
Yeah. I watch some guy who has 500,000 subscribers, and his engagement's higher than these people's. per video or whatever. And so it's obvious that they don't have a lot of actual active subscribers. So in terms of popularity, they may have 2 million whatever subscribers. But to be honest, most companies now also look at your average engagement or average amount of views for selling stuff. So technically they're worth less than about a 500,000 subscriber YouTuber.
And this is the thing that kills me. This channel seems to be a history and just different, learning information. Learning about different things, learning about the past, learning about history specifically. So why would you make a video?
Dude, they make $1,200 per month.
12,000.
Oh, sorry, $12,000.
Yeah, I mean, so it seems like they've got, of the small engagement group, there are people who enjoy their history videos, and I'll be honest, I enjoy history videos as well. But it's also like I wouldn't expect something like this from a history channel who should understand that there are factors to history.
It is history based.
Right, it's a history channel.
Their Patreons are about...
It doesn't make sense.
Their Patreon stuff's about, like, talking about history and stuff, and literally the highest one is they'll talk to your class or whatever. Yeah. History staff writer. How much history do they know? Because apparently they don't.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's fucking mental.
Like...
Well, they know history.
Like,
they're just kind of going about it wrong.
Yeah.
They're the history people that are the worst, that want to get rid of history because they, even though most history people I think are supposed to know that history is doomed to repeat itself if we forget about it. But they're actively saying we need to basically forget history.
Yeah, we need to forget about World War II because the only way people... Like, I saw a statistic at some point. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like 80% of guns, like small gun models, like rare guns, are kept alive through video games. Like, name how many games that you've heard of outside of games, and then think about all of the guns that you have learned of in games.
Yeah.
Like, I maybe before games had heard of the AK-47 or something, and then, like, there's up to, like, they're in the 110s or whatever now.
Yeah. Or the Russian Mosin Nagant, or the German Kar 98, or the
STG-44.
The STG-44, the
PPSH-41.
Yes, the PPSH-41, the MG-39, and the MG-42.
I forgot the name of it, but the really tiny gun in freaking Battlefield 1.
I know which one you're talking about. But yes, that one too. Like, this is the thing, is like... okay. I think we've kind of exhausted the subject. For a channel that makes history-related videos, this is a really poorly done video.
Counterproductive.
This is very counterproductive. I'm not going to be one of those people who's like, oh, you guys are history, you guys shouldn't be talking about video games, because you know what? Hey, you can talk about whatever you want. Just know what you're talking about. And we've learned that over time. We learned that once, yes. But we still learned.
Hey, the engagement was through the roof.
Oh yeah, we had engagement, but it wasn't good engagement.
Nah, man. According to them, engagement was through the roof.
Engagement.
Best video ever done. I gotta do more.
All the engagement.
All the engagement for it.
Yeah. All right.
Whatever. I don't know how to end this or whatever, man. This is fucking...
Do better, guys.
I'm out of time. Fuck.